This is not just a festival unfolding in Kerala. On the banks of Malappuram river, history is being rewritten and a new religious claim is taking shape. It's a story that's deeply political. The organizers of Mamankam are calling it a revival of an ancient practice. They say it's the return of Mamankam, a centuries-old gathering once held on these banks. Mamankam is also being branded as Kerala's Kumbh Mela. The Kumbh, as you might know, is a massive Hindu pilgrimage on sacred rivers including the Ganga, a gathering that today carries not just religious meaning but political symbolism too. But here's where historians say the distortion begins. The initial versions of Mamankam were not at all like the Kumbh. From the 12th century onwards, it was a political, religious and ritualistic assembly where kingship was contested, power was displayed, and many communities, including Muslims, were part of its structure. Mamankam then was not centered on holy dips or monastic hierarchies. Today, that past is being retold in a different language. Monks chant Vedic hymns, lamps blaze over the river in evening aarti. Thousands gather for ritualistic bathing. And this is only the curtain raiser. A much larger Kumbh-style event is planned for 2028. Listen to how some of the participants describe this.
നല്ല കാര്യമാണ് കാരണം ഹിന്ദുക്കളെ ഉണർത്താൻ നല്ലൊരു അവസരം
എന്തോ നമുക്കൊരു ശരീരത്തിനും മനസ്സിനൊക്കെ ഒരു നല്ലൊരു സന്തോഷം വന്ന്.
So what happens when a pluralistic gathering from Kerala's past is reintroduced as just a Hindu religious congregation? And that too in a district that has 70% Muslim population.
ഇവിടെ ഹിന്ദു മുസ്ലിംസ് ക്രിസ്ത്യാനിയൊന്നുമില്ല. ഞങ്ങളെല്ലാം തോളി കത്തി ജീവിക്കുന്നവരാണ്. എന്തുണ്ടായാലും അങ്ങോട്ട് വിട്ടു സൗഹാർദ്ദ ലെവലിലാണ് ഞങ്ങളൊക്കെ മുന്നോട്ട് പോകുന്നത്.
What exactly is being revived and what is being reshaped? And what exactly is unfolding on the ground right now? Let me explain. This is not just a festival story. It's about history, identity, and the reshaping of public space and memories. This is also documentation of how a powerful narrative is being built at its first stage. Our reporters Harita Manav and Megha Mukundan went on the ground to understand the scale of this event, observe what is unfolding, and speak to the people involved. Stories like these take time, effort, and resources. We are committed to doing that work to bring you the full picture. But in turn, we need your support to continue doing this. So scan the QR code on your screen and contribute any amount of your choice. Or you can also click the link in the description below. Kerala's Mamankam is not just another devotional gathering. And we should rethink what it costs to recast an ancient festival as Kumbh. To know why, we must first understand the social and political background of the ancient Mamankam.
First of all, Kumbh Mela has nothing to do with Mamankam or Mamankam as it is conducted today in Kerala. Primarily because of the fact that Kumbh Mela is supposed to be a festival which takes place in the same asterism, but at the same time it is supposed to take place as an oblation festival in the river. So this has nothing to do with the type of the festival that is called Mamankam, primarily because of the fact that it is not an oblation festival at all. It is basically a festival that is related to a kind of political control over the Malappuram region, and this political control was supposed to be actually initiated again and again within every 12 years. That is how the festival was started in 13th century or 14th century. According to information, it is somewhere in the middle of 14th century, and it continued until the end of 18th century.
Kumbh Mela is fundamentally a pilgrimage that centers around river oblation and ritual bathing at the confluence of Ganga, Yamuna, and the mythical Saraswati. On the other hand, historians say Mamankam was also a political theatre. Once every 12 years, rulers, warriors, and traders gathered on the banks of the river. This was not merely to perform oblation or other rites, but also to publicly decide who will hold power for the next 12 years. At the center stood the Nilapaduthara, a ceremonial platform. The ruler who sat there was recognized as the paramount authority of the region. Its defining feature from the 14th century was the political battle between two rival kingdoms, the Zamarin of Calicut and Valluvanadu ruler. The famous Chave warriors would try to attack the Zamarin, and the tradition was that if they win, the rule gets passed on from the Zamarins to the Valluvanadu rulers. Historian Rajan Gurukal told us that originally this right of precedency belonged to Valluva Konadari, the ruler of Valluvanadu. Over time, the symbolic supremacy was forcibly appropriated by the Zamarin of Calicut. The famous Konadari-Zamarin conflict is inseparable from the Mamankam because the festival became the symbolic battleground for lost authority. Gurukal says Mamankam crystallized a unique form of political struggle where ritual, violence, memory, and legitimacy was fused into a single recurring spectacle of power. The Kumbh Mela, he pointed out, follows a 12-year cycle because it is anchored to the orbital period of Jupiter, which takes roughly 11.9 years to complete one revolution around the Sun. And most importantly, the Kumbh Mela's 12-year periodicity is not a simple once in 12 years event. It is not in a single location either. Instead, the Jupiter cycle is distributed across 4 sites: Prayagraj, Haridwar, Ujjain, and Nashik, each activated by a different Jupiter-Sun configuration. Mamankam was not held as a Hindu unifying festival. Muslims were not peripheral observers. Historical records show that Muslim merchants held ceremonial status even within the festival structure. Muslim warriors served in the forces of rival kingdoms. Martial institutions linked to Muslim communities formed part of the Mamankam world.
Kozhikode Koya, who is a Muslim merchant as well as merchant prince, and this person, Eralpad, who is in charge of the trade in Ponnani, they used to be with him throughout the period in which this particular thing is taking place. Which means that it was not connected with anything to do with Hindu or Muslim. In this sense, and also you mentioned Chengamballi Kalari, and the Kalari was actually consisted of trained Muslim soldiers, and these Muslim soldiers were part of the Zamorin forces.
But the organizers of the new Mamankam invoke a mythical past. They say Tavanur, a place near the river, is the land where Lord Brahma performed a ritual at the request of Lord Parashurama. They claim Mamankam happened even before the time of Zamarins, but it also became about power and war after the Zamarins, which is why it is called Mamankam. All this is not about a revival, it's about a reclassification. Many of the rituals at the Mamankam here are not rooted in Kerala's traditions. The Nila Aarti performed with multi-tiered lamps at sunset mirrors the Ganga Aarti of Varanasi. Evening lamp ceremonies of this scale and style are unfamiliar, almost unheard of in Kerala's river traditions.
Even Nala Arati or whatever it means, it is not conducted in a Hindu festival in Kerala, which means that the entire proceedings now is actually an artificial kind of, imposition of some ritual that is taking place in the north that is being actually transported to the south, and it is being imposed over here. And it had nothing to do with the earlier Mamankam.
The river Aarti every evening has become a central vision of the Mamankam. The Aarti takes place under the guidance of monks from the Juna Akhada, a monastic order established by Adi Shankaracharya, now headquartered in Uttar Pradesh. This is one of the most powerful monastic institutions of North India, central to the organization of Kumbh Mela. The Akhada tradition includes Naga sadhus, historically linked to the defense of Sanatan Dharma. Now, you may wonder why the Juna Akhada is at the forefront of a festival in Kerala. That's because in 2025, Swami Anandavanam Bharati was declared as a Mahamandaleshwar, or the head of the Juna Akhada. The Swami is a native of Thrissur district in Kerala. He was formerly known as P. Salil, and he was a member of SFI, the student wing of the CPIM. He faced several cases, and in 2001, he received a police instruction to leave the location. Apparently, he started a journey that ended in Prayagraj Kumbh.
It's a gathering of dharma, reviving an ancient tradition. Main importance is the two important. One is the one is the revival of culture, like plants. All people are gain energy from roots. But unfortunately, or the invention of another country people, the roots are cut. So we reinstate that roots and strengthens that root to grow more stronger. That is the inner importance of that event.
Hindu monks performing rituals and chanting the Vedas. Tens of thousands of attendees waiting to take a dip. Saffron flags, including the VHP flag, everywhere. Cutouts of Ram on the banks of the river, although the deities in the temples nearby are Vishnu, Shiva, and Brahma. A temporary bridge stretching from the Vishnu temple to the sandbanks where other temples are located. Now, this might come across as a temporary utility to ferry devotees, but the organizers describe it as a metaphor for reclaiming Vedic continuity.
ഇപ്പോഴാണ് അതിൻ്റെ ശരിക്കുള്ള കംപ്ലീറ്റ് ഡെഫിനേഷൻ നമ്മളെ ബാബ ഇയാൾ സ്വാമിജി വന്നപ്പോൾ പറയാൻ തുടങ്ങി. എന്തായാലും ഇത് നല്ല കാര്യമാണ്. കാരണം ഹിന്ദുക്കളെ ഉണർത്താൻ നല്ലൊരു അവസരം, ഒരു കൂട്ടായ്മയും ഒരു ഉണർവുമാണത്. കാരണം ഹിന്ദുക്കൾക്കൊന്നും അറിയില്ല. മറ്റുള്ള എല്ലാ ഇവരും ജാതി മതങ്ങളും അവരെ പറ്റി ഉള്ളതും ഇല്ലാത്തതും ഒക്കെ പഠിച്ചു വെച്ചിട്ടാണ് വെച്ചിരിക്കുന്നത്. ഹിന്ദുക്കൾക്ക് ഒന്നും അറിയില്ല. അത് പഠിക്കാൻ നല്ലൊരു അവസരമാണ്. ഇങ്ങനെയുള്ള അവസരങ്ങൾ ഉണ്ടാവണം എന്നാണ് ഞാൻ പറയുന്നത്.
Hindu organizations linked to the RSS like Seva Bharati are at the forefront of volunteering.
മൊത്തത്തിൽ തൃശ്ശൂർ ജില്ലയിൽ നിന്നാണ് എല്ലാവരും വന്നിരിക്കുന്നത്. എല്ലാവരും പലരും കൺഫ്യൂഷൻ എവിടെ എങ്ങനെ പോകേണ്ടതെന്നുള്ളത്. അപ്പോൾ അവർക്കുള്ള റൂട്ട് പറഞ്ഞു കൊടുക്കുക, ഏത് ഭാഗത്തു കൂടെ പോകേണ്ടത് പറഞ്ഞു കൊടുക്കുക, ഏത് അമ്പലങ്ങൾ എങ്ങനെയൊക്കെയാണെന്നുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങൾ പറഞ്ഞു കൊടുക്കുക, ചടങ്ങുകൾ എന്തൊക്കെയാണെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു കൊടുക്കുക. അത്യാവശ്യമാണെന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ഞങ്ങളെല്ലാവരുടെയും പോകാറുണ്ട്. അതായത് എവിടേക്കാണെന്നുള്ളത് നമ്മുടെ ഗൾഡിൻ്റെ ആൾക്കാർ ഞങ്ങളോട് വിവരം അറിയിക്കും. അതനുസരിച്ച് എത്ര പേര് വേണമെന്നുള്ള അവർ തീരുമാനിച്ച് അതനുസരിച്ച് നമ്മൾ പോയത്.
Since the 1990s, cultural groups have organized secular Mamankam remembrance festivals that have been focused on history, monuments, culinary traditions, percussions, and performing arts. Their aim was to preserve Mamankam as Kerala's historical heritage, not as a Hindu ritual spectacle. Now, two different versions of the past are being staged all at the same ground. There's also a shift in how the river itself is being imagined. Bharatapura has historically been a shared social space tied to livelihoods, memories, and literature. But when a river is declared sacred in a specific religious sense, it changes how space is understood. It becomes territory of faith.
The purpose of identifying Kumbh Mela with Mamankam, the purpose of conducting a riverine ceremony in Tirunavaya during the period of Mamankam, and claiming that they are trying to revive Mamankam as a Hindu festival, all these things is related to the basic contradiction or the basic differentiation that they want to make in a place of Malappuram district as well as the surrounding regions, that is between Hindu and the Muslim. So that is the only reason wherever we can think about it. So by propitiating or converting Bharatapura as a holy river, which means that the entire population around, Hindu population around Bharatapura can be mobilized on the same platform, which means that the Muslims of the same region can be alienated.
കാര്യം ജനങ്ങൾ ഇപ്പോഴെല്ലാം ഭക്തിയിലേക്ക് നീങ്ങുകയാണ്. കാര്യം ഭക്തി ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ നമ്മളെ മുന്നോട്ടുള്ള ജീവിതങ്ങളും കൊണ്ടുപോകാൻ പറ്റത്തുള്ളൂ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് മൊത്തം ഒരു പബ്ലിസിറ്റി പോലെയാണ്. ഇപ്പോൾ ലോകം മൊത്തം ആൾക്കാർ ഇത് വീക്ഷിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുക. കേരളത്തിൽ എങ്ങനെയാണ് കുംഭമേള നടക്കുന്നത്, മറ്റൊന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഔട്ടർ സ്റ്റേറ്റിലല്ലേ നടക്കുന്നത്. അന്നേരം നമുക്കൊന്നും കാണാൻ പറ്റത്തില്ലല്ലോ. നമ്മളെന്ന് പറയുന്ന വീഡിയോയിൽ അങ്ങനെ കാണുന്നല്ലേ ഉള്ളൂ. ഇപ്പോൾ ഇത് ലൈവായിട്ട് കാണാമല്ലോ.
ഉത്തരേന്ത്യയിൽ ഈ ഇതൊക്കെ ശ്രദ്ധിക്കാറുണ്ട്, കുംഭമേളൊക്കെ
ശ്രദ്ധിക്കാറുണ്ട്.
പോകണമെന്നൊക്കെ
ആഗ്രഹിക്കുന്നു കൂട്ടത്തിലൊക്കെ ആയിരുന്നു. പക്ഷെ നമുക്ക് ഭാഷ അറിഞ്ഞിടാത്തതുകൊണ്ട് നമുക്ക് പറ്റത്തില്ലല്ലോ.
ഞങ്ങളുടെ ജീവിതത്തിൽ ആദ്യമായിട്ടുള്ളതാണിത്. നല്ല തൃപ്തിയുണ്ട് ഇതിനോട് സഹകരിക്കും. എന്തോ നമുക്കൊരു ശരീരത്തിനും മനസ്സിനൊക്കെ ഒരു നല്ലൊരു സന്തോഷം വന്ന് എന്നും ഇങ്ങനെയൊക്കെ ഉണ്ടാവട്ടെ എന്നൊക്കെ പ്രാർത്ഥിക്കുന്നു. എല്ലാവർക്കും നല്ലൊരു ഇത് തോന്നുന്നുണ്ട്.
Interestingly, this is not the first time such a revival model has appeared. A similar attempt to revive a Kumbh-style gathering was reported in West Bengal in 2023, where the location of the event also intersected with a site that carried layered religious history. Now, apart from all these, there are serious environmental concerns to this as well. Bharatapura is not a perennial river. It is a fragile seasonal river already struggling to survive. Studies have pointed to reduced flow damage, tributaries, sand mining, and pollution. In several stretches, the riverbed remains exposed for long periods. Environmentalists say that large-scale human interventions like mass bathing, temporary structures, and ritual gatherings add another layer of pressure. After recent Kumbh gatherings in North India, officials monitoring the water recorded alarming contamination levels in river waters during peak bathing days.
But one angle is very clear. Whenever there is a human intervention into the river, it is going to affect the river. Because the sand is extracted, the whole mineral is extracted and exploited the river for mining sand and all the water and too much construction in the river. These are all for the benefits of the human community. But we never talked about what the benefit, how the impact of going to be in the river. So in that sense, any intervention in the river, it's a small or large or any scale, which will have impact.